Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. I recently did a story about sex education in schools and the things that they were teaching the pupils that were utterly repugnant, that no right-minded person would expect to see on any kind of school curriculum, and how the schools refused to tell parents what they were teaching. We have a similar story here. It involves a school, and it also is refusing to communicate with the parents, but this is far more insidious. The child in question is autistic. The parents expressed their opinion and made, unambiguously explained to the school that they did not want their daughter to transition or to be known as any other name because she is not gender dysphoric, she is autistic. They gave express instructions on how their child was to be treated. Not only did the school completely ignore the parents' wishes, it then continued to use the altered pronouns, despite this being against the parents' wishes. And this is the bit that makes you go, "Are you kidding me?" Refused to tell the parents that this girl was using hormone therapy. For a school to do this, to withhold from parents the fact that the child was taking medication that they were not aware of, is not just astoundingly immoral in its own right. I would suggest is illegal because there is no safeguarding of the child, but specifically could put that child at massive medical risk. The negligence of this school is on a level of criminality that not only must the school be immediately closed down and every single teacher in it go to jail for the amount of damage they've potentially done to this child. They must never work with children again. And the whole education service in this country, riven as it is by Marxism in the left, needs to be thoroughly disbanded and started again from first principles. It must always be led by the child and the parent. The teachers must come way down the pecking order, and it must never be what the teachers think is good for the child, ever. We're going to take a look at this story, but it is unbelievable that these teachers think they could get away with withholding information as important as medication from parents. It's astounding. Here you go. Now, they're not naming this school for obvious reasons, but it is utterly deplorable. So, parents' fury after school hid from them their autistic teenage daughter's trans hormone use. Parents told the head teacher they didn't agree the use of a boy's name or pronouns. Then they found out some teachers had been calling their daughter a boy's name. Those teachers need to be fired immediately, and lose their license to teach for the remainder of their lives. They're abusing children. Well, we all know they are. The whole teaching profession is there. It's little more than a bunch of peas, isn't it? And groomers. And I've covered the whole thing on that. But we know. Whenever you look at a teacher, you know they're either peas or they're groomers or they're not whistleblowing on the ones that are. And that makes them just as bad. A couple told of their horror after discovering teachers were aware their autistic teenage daughter was taking hormones when they had no idea. The parents said they were put in an impossible position after staff hid her social transition from them. They had met the head teacher at her large secondary in the southeast of England and made it clear they did not agree to her being called a boy's name or pronouns. These are the parents, and the teachers are taking away all parental responsibility because the left want that. The left don't want parents to have a say in their children. The left want them to have a say. They're infecting their minds. They are poisoning them. They are brainwashing them into an ideology that is basically turning young people into objects of desire for these sick, degenerate perverts that call themselves teachers. But then they found out some teachers had been calling their daughter, now 16, a boy's name. Horrified, they hired lawyers to demand to see the school's records. These revealed some staff knew the pupil was taking hormones to make her body more masculine and using a chest binder to flatten her chest. Not that the parents knew, and they had to hire lawyers to find this out. The school owes it to parents to let them know every single aspect of their child's schooling, everything. This is why I keep saying, if you can, educate your child at home, because you cannot trust these perverts and degenerates that go into schools, and you have to wonder why a lot of them go in. Why do you want to be a teacher? Oh, well, I want to get close to children. Of course you do. The teen was also given advice on gender ID by a youth project which runs classes at the schools. Why the hell have you got these people going into schools to do this? Why are you brainwashing children? Why are you pushing this warped ideology onto young minds? Is it because you're just using them as the shock troops in your ideological war, your campaign to normalise P? This is a safeguarding issue, said her father. We feel our daughter's mental and physical health is being put at risk and we have been shut out from any discussion. And remember, she is autistic. This is nothing short of abuse of a vulnerable person, and a child at that. When we met the head teacher, we agreed that there would be no social transition at school. There were teachers who disregarded that. We feel we are living in a Franz Kafka novel. Social transitioning means a person being treated as a gender different to their biological sex, but with no medical intervention. They've been given instructions. They've been told what the family want. They've been told what the parents of the child want. And they failed to obey those instructions. Those teachers then are guilty of causing massive emotional, psychological, and with the chest binders, physical damage to that child. They need to be sued to smithereens. They need to lose their license to ever teach again. They need to be put on a register, and they can go on the register before they go to jail. And that includes every single teacher at that school who knew. Every single teacher is involved because none of them contacted the parents. And so therefore they are all involved in this cover-up, in this conspiracy to destroy a young girl's life. The pupil's father also told the Sunday Times, "The institutions have put us in an impossible situation. We have only ever sought to act in the best interests of our daughter. We believe that some of the professionals whose job it is to safeguard children may have acted in her worst interests by enabling, encouraging and facilitating life-changing medicalisation with irreversible consequences and without consent." This is criminal. This is absolutely criminal. The school denied in failing in its safeguarding duties, which is a lie. They absolutely did. And said the pupil has a right to privacy about her medical information. No, she doesn't. Not until she is an adult. Until she is of an age where she can make informed consent. Until that point, it is still the parent's right. Reminders were sent to staff not to use her preferred name, it added. And yet they still did. They still facilitated. Because they're all degenerate perverts. Ministers are split over a long-awaited gender policy. How can you be split on this? You're either a thoroughly decent human being who doesn't want to see children damaged, or you're someone who does want to see children damaged, and therefore there is a word I cannot use on YouTube, but it describes you perfectly. Education Secretary Gillian Keegan plans to allow pupils to choose their own pronouns if their parents give consent. But figures in Downing Street, including Equalities Minister Kimmy Badenoch, fear a backlash. The guidance for schools is expected in the coming weeks. No, nothing until they are adults. You cannot make decisions like this. And it's certainly not the place for teachers to be making these decisions on someone else's child. When you're doing things like this, to someone else's child, you're either a groomer, a P, or both. And if you're a teacher at that school who knows it's going on and you're not blowing any whistles, you're as guilty. You also are guilty by association, and you're no better or different from those that are pushing this degenerate ideology. And that is why I say all teachers, every single one, are complicit in the abuse of children. It's got to stop. I'm coming up. It will only need a couple of court cases and a couple of head teachers getting 20 years. And all this in all schools will stop like that. Immediately, overnight. And that's all it takes. A couple of court cases. Get them in, get them up there, strip them of their licence to ever teach again, and give them 20 years in prison. They'll do 10, they can come out, and they can pick up whatever left of their lives. And in those 10 years in prison, they won't have damaged any more children. Now, this particular girl was autistic, so she is a vulnerable child. And they still felt it was necessary to hide these things from her parents. It makes you wonder what they're hiding from other people, from other children, from parents whose children aren't vulnerable. What are they hiding? Because guarantee this is not the only case. All these teachers, time and time again, I keep doing stories about what's going on in the schools. People keep seeing these videos and they keep saying, I don't believe it, I don't believe it. And yeah, I keep making videos because you can believe it. Schools are hotbeds of basically abuse of children. Grooming, conditioning, mental conditioning. They're Stockholming these kids into acceptance that the things that they're doing to them is normal. Nobody is safeguarding children. It needs to stop. It needs acts of parliament, but more importantly, it needs serious jail time. That's the only thing that will stop it. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, protect your children, and make sure you know what's going on in your child's school. And goodbye.